Hi, welcome to Movement Champions 2018 Level 1. We're going to start off down on the ground with a mini bend around the knees. Once you get down on the ground, we're going to spend a moment just on the knees in a crawling position, knees right under hips, hands right under shoulders, and we're trying to explore our range of motion. Shoulders in the middle position, spinal extension, find the middle position, and then pop the knees up off the ground. Once you're in this position, we're trying to maintain that canister connection, keeping a strong inhale, exhale while maintaining that good quality alignment. To further increase tension, we're going to work on squeezing a sponge in the back part of the armpit, trying to engage into the ground, brace into the floor, and keep working on that breath. Good. Head is also in a neutral position. We don't want the head to sag down at the low point. Excellent. From here, we're transitioning into a side plank from the knees. We're looking to stack the elbow right underneath the shoulder, top hand vertical, and head neutral. Once you've got this position, the main goal here is to extend the hips without popping open the stomach. So try to keep that pelvis to ribcage connection sealed tight, push the hips forward, and aim to stay long from the knee to the crown of the head. Once you've got that, we're looking to lift the top knee, hold for a second or two, and then lower back down. You got to watch out for sagging the rib cage on the low point. Keep all that underside connected tight. Maintain that strong alignment through the body. From here, we're going into a high plank bridge, setting the hands down on the ground, feet about shoulder width apart, and a very slight turn out in the feet. From here, we're peeling and pushing hands into the floor. You can orientate your hand whichever way is most comfortable. In the top position, we're working on maintaining our eyes down at the core so we're aware of not popping open. The head is slightly flexed in this position. In the top position, once more, we're trying to drive the heels directly down into the floor, squeeze the glutes hard, and maintain that brace. The biggest tendency here is to pop open in the top of the bridge. We want to try and keep that sealed tight. Finally, the shoulders are peeling back and down. From here, we're transitioning over into the opposite side plank. Again, setting that elbow right underneath the shoulder. Try to corkscrew the shoulder into the backside of the armpit. Again, imagining that you're squeezing a sponge back here. Shoulders are vertically stacked. That's our alignment through. And then up in the pelvis, again, we're working on that slight tilt backwards, big time engagement in the glutes, and slowly working that top leg lift. Good. Excellent. Again, maintaining that full hip extension. As you fatigue, the tendency will be to allow some hip flexion. From here, we're transitioning into a high plank, the top of a push-up. Once more, once we're in this, we can take a moment just to get body awareness, create that energetic brace on the underside, sealing the core nice and tight. Shoulders are packed and pushed into the floor. And then from here, it's all about tension development. Can we engage the quads, glutes, and abs while sealing those lats down tight? On top of that big engagement in the outside, we're working on that tight breath on the inside, trying to pressurize this container with the inhale, exhale. Should be so solid that if I came over and pushed, he is rigid. From here, we're going into our monster walk with the external rotation. So we're setting feet shoulder width apart, elbows by the rib cage, and split the band. From here, the shoulders are broad, back in the socket, core is connected. As we're stepping, we're trying to both keep the foot from getting pulled in by the band, separate the ground, and every time the foot contacts the floor, we're trying to take a moment to split the floor. Step through, split the floor, all while maintaining that brace in the external rotation. Great. From here, we're transitioning into a slingshot squat. We're trying to place the band behind the head. From here, hands out at about 30 degrees, pack and push so that we're not overreaching the shoulder. Keep it in. Ribs down. Holding that active head back position, a slight double chin is a good cue to help you get there. And from there, we're actively pulling the floor, or pulling our knees up as we work on splitting the ground, both trying to separate the feet, but also push the knees out. Again, keeping that broadness in the hips as we set the shoulder and keep broadness in the band. From here, we are transitioning into our banded calf raises. So same setup with the shoulders, only we're elevating it up a little bit higher. We set the feet about pelvis width apart, slight turn out, and from there we're pressing into the ground to come up to the top position. One of the common errors in this is just to simply rock onto the toes. We want to actively push the floor away from us, hold that top position for a second or two, and then control back down onto the ground. Again, having that balance and control in the top position is key. One major coaching point is watch rolling to the baby toe. You want to push up to the big toe. From here, we're going into a hip hinge bend pull apart. We're grabbing onto the bend with our thumbs pointing together in a deep hip hinge position. So again, with this, we're trying to maintain that flat back. Tendency is to round out. Stick your butt up in the air a bit will help that. From here, one of the major coaching cues is to get the shoulder blades together before the bend touches your chest. You want to watch out for the tendency to split the arms with the shoulders forward. We're always leading with the shoulders. Get those shoulders to contact before the bend touches your chest. Last strap here, again, if we're doing really well on the backside, we need to be aware of keeping the ribs down tight on the front. From here, we're going into our deadlift. As we're transitioning, we're ripping off the band, setting our feet in a narrow stance. From here, we're going back into that hip hinge position, transition to a weight shift onto the single leg, and then paw through the floor to stand up. Again, as we're doing this, we're working on trying to maintain that alignment. Try to keep the foot in contact with the floor, so we're not rolling around on the ankle. We're trying to set that foot nice and solid on the ground. Once you've got it, pull through, really trying to use the backside of the leg. We're alternating legs every single rep. Working on that balance and that power on the backside of the thighs. Good. As you come up, try and time that with an exhale. Okay, from here we are transitioning into our single leg balance hip circles. So coming onto that single leg stance, we're going for slow, full range of motion on the hip. We're trying to get higher than hip height, scour out, transition the heel high, and then let it come back to the start. We're doing 2 reps in one direction, nice and slow, and then 2 reps in the opposite direction. Key points here is that we're trying to maintain our pelvis to rib cage connection as you're doing the knee circle. If you're really pushing the range of motion in the circle, there'll be a tendency for the hips to move around. Our goal is to try and keep the pelvis as stable as possible. We'll switch over to the other leg as we get the range of motion as big as possible. Another key cue for this is, especially when we're going into those high ranges, there's a tendency to bend the down knee and slightly round the back. Really work on staying straight and strong on that down leg as well. When we're going in the opposite direction, work hard to pull the heel towards the butt before we bring the knee out and around. Good. Final cue is there any loss of height as we're doing this exercise? Should be able to stay the same tallness as we go through each hip circle. From here, we're transitioning into our reverse lunge to high knee. We're looking to set up in 90 position. From there, we're setting our front foot on the ground, again, trying to actively connect that front foot with the floor. As we come up, we're trying to paw through the ground, pulling ourselves forward. If possible, at the low point, you can even pull your heel back a bit just to engage the hamstring. Hold that engagement and pull through. Just like the hip circle, we're trying to get as high as possible, and we're working arm movement in opposition to the arms, just like our normal gait. So if the right knee is forward, the left arm is forward. Okay, switching over to the other side. Again, trying to keep that canister tight, finding the front foot, paw through the ground on that front foot, and drive to single leg stance. We're trying to hold and own, show that you own that top position for about a second or two, and then back down to the ground. Key points here is watching overstriding the rear lunge or allowing the front knee to move forward. It does take a bit of practice to find that alignment. Great. Again, every rep we're trying to get that knee high and own that top position. Okay, from here we're going to come into our Nordic hamstring curl. We're just grabbing something to pad the knees. From here, Travis is tucking his toes underneath. I'm supporting at the ankle and I'm stacking so that I'm vertically aligned through the arms. From here, he's connecting that canister once more, abs and glutes nice and strong. Leans forward until he feels his body kick in. Try to hold that for about a second or two and then control as best as possible to the ground. Key point here is that we maintain that straight line, knee, hip, shoulder, ear. There'll be a tendency to bend at the hip as you come into the harder positions. Good, good, good. Final component is that we want to try and make sure our shoulders are relatively set, and we're done. For the opposite position. Alternatively, if you have some other padding, we can work on throwing this under the knees, and it's exactly the same thing. Toes tucked under, start off tall, get connected, control, pause for a second or two under tension, and then try to keep that control to the floor. Connect strong, slow to the hard point, and then control to the ground. Again, I'm working on allowing my head move ahead of my hips. I'm always trying to keep that alignment tight and straight, own it for a half second, and then fall through. Okay, one last rep. And then finally, we're going into our squat jump to stick. So we're starting off in a set position, hands high. We load, jump, and then catch in the low position. Reset, load, go, and catch. Hold that position for a second or two. Set, load, go, and catch. Set, load, go, and catch. One of the key things we're looking for here is that as we land, we keep that separation. We've been warming this up in the workout all along. We don't want to have the knees collapse in, or ideally have the back round out. So we're always trying to keep broad and strong in that low position. Awesome, and we are done. Okay. Good job.